All right. I'd like to call this meeting of the Prince William County School Board order. Pursuant to School Board Policy 139, school board member participation meetings by electronic communication. School board member Diane Ralston will participate in this meeting through electronic means from her home due to a medical condition that prevents her physical attendance. The clerk will so note this in the minutes of the meeting. Motion is in order for the approval of the closed session agenda. Ms. Jackson.
I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the closed session agenda as recommended.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Ms. Ralston's having trouble logging on, so right now we're going to go with who we have here.
Okay.
Justin, I'll add him. Lily, are you a yes?
So the vote is 5 yes, 3 not present at vote. Williams, Ralston, and who else am I missing?
Justin's here.
Oh, Justin's here. I apologize. 2 not.
Moving on to the motion to enter closed session. A motion is in order. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. I move that pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711 and 2.2-3712, that the Prince William County School Board enter closed session for the following reasons. One,
Lori's here.
to discuss with staff the appointment, transfer, release, assignment, and promotion of specific officers and employees under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1. 2, to consult with Division Counsel pertaining to actual or probable litigation involving employment and educational matters as provided by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1, 2, and 7. And 3, to consult with staff and legal counsel regarding the legal requirements and procedures for collective bargaining by school board employees, which requires legal advice and guidance as provided by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8.
Any discussion? Or a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Ms. Williams? Yes. Yes. So the vote is 7 yes, 1 not present. Ralston, motion passed.
At this time, the Prince William County School Board will now enter closed session and return to open session at 7 o'clock.
Sign in while I read.
The Prince William County School Board will now re-enter open session, and closed session certification is in order. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. I move that pursuant Virginia Code 2.2-3712, the closed session of the Prince William County School Board meeting of May 4th, 2022, be certified by adopting the following resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Prince William County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard and discussed or considered by the school board.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Williams.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
Yes.
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous. Motion passed.
Moving on to the approval of appointments and releases. A motion is in order. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the appointments and releases of specific employees as presented in closed session.
Any, do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Oh, Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
And the vote is 8 yes, unanimous, motion passed.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. We are pleased to continue our Launching Thriving Futures focus to recognize our outstanding student athletes, talented principal this evening, and our unique alternative school. I am pleased to introduce our Vice Chairwoman and Brentsville Magisterial District Representative, Mrs. Adele Jackson. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. It is my honor to recognize Ben Huffman from the Brentsville District High School. Ben is the state swimming championship in the boys 200 and boys 500. Congratulations. Ben has committed Ben has committed to Boston College. The head swimming coach of the Brentsville District High School is Peter Milligan, who will say a few words about him. Go ahead, Coach. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Milligan. I am the head swim coach at Brentsville High School. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening to say a few words about Benjamin Huffman. I've had the pleasure of coaching Ben for the past 2 seasons, my first 2 seasons coaching in Prince William County. Ben's achievements in the water speak for themselves. He's a 3-time VHSL state champion. He holds almost every record at Brentsville High School, and he'll be continuing that success next year at Boston College. I've been endlessly impressed by Ben's calm confidence on the pool deck. He is seemingly unshaken in big moments, knows what he needs to do, and does it. I've only been more impressed by Ben's fierce loyalty and commitment to his friends, and tremendous grace that he showed when he lost a dear and close one in September 2021. It's this combination of calm and measured confidence, commitment, loyalty, and grace that will carry Ben to do great things in his academic, athletic, and professional career. I wish Ben the best of luck next year at Boston College and beyond. Thank you again for allowing us to be here this evening, and congratulations, Ben.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson, and congratulations to Ben, and good luck to you at Boston College and in the future. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Justin Wilk of the Potomac District to share information on 2 very special awards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It is my honor to recognize Amy Schott, current principal at Henderson Elementary, home of the Huskies. Last year, Prince William County Schools named her our division's Principal of the Year. Last month, the Washington Post named Principal Schott the 2022 Principal of the Year for this entire region. Ms. Schott was born and raised in Minnesota before seeking out warmer weather in Texas, where she attended Texas Christian University, earning a degree in early childhood education. She earned a master's degree from George Mason University. She taught English speakers of other languages in 3rd grade before going into administration. Principal Schott served as principal of Rockledge Elementary School for 13 years before moving over to the Potomac District's Henderson Elementary School this year. Because she spent so much time in the Occoquan District, I would like to invite my colleague, Lily Jesse, from the Occoquan Magisterial District to weigh in.
Congratulations. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had notes for me. Thank you, Mr. Wilk. I have visited Rockledge Elementary School many times and have witnessed the positive environment that Mrs. Schultz and her team built there. I'm very proud of Mrs. Schultz and so excited to see her recognized with this outstanding award. Congratulations, Amy. You're here tonight with your 2 children, and would you like to say a few words? And before you say a few words, I just want to add that Rockledge rocked because of you and your staff. When I came to that school, and when you go to that school, you're going to feel very comfortable because she creates a positive climate that's just immeasurable. Thank you so much for what you've done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairman Lateef, Vice Chair Jackson, members of the school board, Superintendent McDade, and staff. What an honor it is to be with you tonight to receive your recognition and congratulations. I thank you for your kind words, Mr. Wilk and Ms. Jessie. I almost feel guilty to be recognized at the board meeting during Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, but The timing could not be better because it gives me an opportunity to remind the public that behind every successful principal and school is a supportive, creative, collaborative, and student-centered staff, as well as an involved and engaged community. I wish to express my gratitude to the Rockledge school community for the many years of your commitment and support, and celebrate all that we accomplished together on behalf of our students. It should be all of you that is receiving the recognition. Thank you to the wonderful Henderson community for matching that level of commitment and enthusiasm to do whatever it takes to support our students' successes and futures, and for your warm welcome as I have proudly joined the Henderson Husky House, as we lovingly call our school. I had the honor of being named Principal of the Year alongside many other outstanding nominees last year: Adrian Harrison, Mark Boyd, Mary Jane Boynton, Richard Nichols, Matthew Fithian, Julie Svensson, and Eric Worcester. I believe that not only were these talented educators equally as worthy of such recognition, but all of the phenomenal school leaders of Prince William County Schools. I am very proud of our professional learning community that we have in our division that affords us the ability to learn from each other, grow each other, challenge each other, and strengthen our schools together. My supportive husband and children deserve the award more than me, as they patiently deal with my absences due to the job, physically and emotionally at times, and I am forever grateful. I look forward to many more years of supporting our future world changers with our Henderson community under the continuous improvement focused Superintendent Dr. Latanya McDade. Again, happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all who are serving in one of the most important and impactful professions. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie, and congratulations again, Principal Schott. I now have the privilege to share great news about Independence Non-Traditional School. The National Alternative Education Association has designated Independence Non-Traditional School as an NAEA, Exemplary Practices Model School. The NAEA has identified and crafted 15 exemplary practices in the field, forged from research on productive alternative programs and the wisdom of alternative educators. The exemplary practices represent a national effort to develop common principles. I think we clap, right? Yes. Of course, recognition must go to the principal of the Independence Non-Traditional School, which is led by Dr. Bob Eichhorn, who is also retiring at the end of the school year. Congratulations, Dr. Eichhorn, his entire leadership team, teachers and staff and students for this unique recognition. Dr. Eichhorn, please come forward and say a few words for us, please.
Good evening, Chairman Lateef and members of the board, Dr. McDade. Launching Thriving Futures, Independence Non-Traditional School has landed. Not on the moon, not on any planets. We're here, we're all over. We serve everyone. It's emotional for me to share simply because this recognition is about our kids. Our students are why Independence thrives, why we are successful. They're the groundwork. They're the explorers. They're the ones that take risks. They're the ones that reach out. And we can't do it without our professional educators, our teachers, our teaching assistants. And that's why we're all here. No ironies that it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And who I'm surrounded by is 3 generations of educators, those that support educators, and those that are likely to become educators in the next several decades. And that's what Independence Non-Traditional School is. It's a family. So when we talk about family, that's what's represented behind me. We're one. We're not about individuals. We're about a collective group of people that focus on the individual needs of students. That's why we're successful. That's why it's been an honor and a privilege to be a part of, and that's the role that we all play. We are just a part of the efforts and energy in establishing and growing, thriving futures for our students. And that's what I love about our strategic plan and the vision for the future, is that it is about the future, and it's grounded in the present. I cannot be more proud that our staff and our students, because it's a recognition of their work over many, many years, and we're the first school in the nation to be recognized for this award. So people are going to be coming to us for answers, for guidance over the coming years. And I cannot thank this current board and our current superintendent, as well as our previous boards and previous leadership and the leadership in this room for supporting us on this journey to get us to where we are today. Because now we are a beacon of hope, not only for students in our district, but students across the nation. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'll now turn it over to Superintendent Dr. McDade to conclude this portion of the school board meeting. After her remarks, we'll take a picture of all those recognized this evening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lateef. Thank you each for being here so that we can celebrate you. I want to offer my personal congratulations to each of you. Ben, you make us proud. And congratulations to you. And I believe I see a beaming mom and dad standing next to you. Is that correct? Congratulations to you as well. And thank you for being the Uber driver and, and the cheerleader and the countless hours that you spend supporting Ben and really helping to ignite and support his passion and his interest. Thank you, Coach Milligan. I thought I saw Principal Dr. Meintz. Thank you as well, because we know that our school leaders create the conditions for our students to be able to have these opportunities and support activities that go well beyond the classroom walls. Also, congratulations to Ms. Schott for your outstanding leadership across both schools in PWCS, Dr. Eichhorn and your entire team for the phenomenal job that you are doing at INS on behalf of our students and our families. To each and every one of you, congratulations, and again, we are PWCS proud. And I just want to reiterate that we are not short on talent in Prince William County Public Schools. The best are with PWCS, and we will continue to celebrate and acknowledge and recognize our students and our staff during our board meetings, because we have so many accomplishments to celebrate. Thank you, Dr. Lateef.
Wonderful, Dr. McDade. So we will assemble up front to take a picture with the board. Let's do the picture because we have three really different groups here. So we'll do the first group, which is our largest group, to please come up to the front. The school board takes a picture with the non-traditional. Then we'll have Ben and your family and Principal Meintz, if you would come up to after that, and then we'll do Principal Schott. So we'll have three shots. And the coach, right, everybody with Ben, of course. So first with the non-traditional.
A little more on the left, Mike.
Okay, everybody look at Frank right here, please.
Okay, I'm going to take two or three. So I'm going to count to three, and then we're going to take one. 1, 2, 3. Do another one. On 3. 1, 2, 3. And for luck, we'll do one more. 1, 2, 3. Looks good. Congratulations, guys.
You good?
right on each end. That's good. Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. And we'll do a couple more. 1, 2, 3. And the last one. Ready? Sorry. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Congratulations.
Turn the podium off for a minute.
Okay, first one, on three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the next one. 1, 2, 3. And the best one yet. 1, 2, 3. Good, very good. Congratulations.
All right. Well, thank you and congratulations again to all our honorees this evening. We really appreciate them and for their service to our community. At this time, I'd like to now call the meeting of the Prince William County School Board to order. We will start first with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Charlotte Flynn, can you please lead us in that?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Next, we're moving to the approval of the agenda. Motions in order. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Chair Lateef. I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the public meeting agenda as recommended.
Have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Williams.
I second.
Any discussion? Please vote. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes.
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous. Motion passed.
Moving on to the adoption of the consent agenda. Motions in order. Ms. Jackson.
Thank you. I move that the Prince William County School Board approve the public meeting consent agenda as recommended.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Zargarpur.
I second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wilk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to put a plug in for mental health awareness that on Saturday is the 6th annual Suicide Awareness Walk at Forest Park. The event will have special guests, and will start at 8:30 a.m. Again, this is an annual event that's done at one of my two schools, so I look forward to some of my colleagues joining and the community joining. This is a great event.
Okay. Please, Ms. Williams.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also wanted to take a moment to talk about mental health since May is Mental Health Month. Not only do I appreciate the event at Forest Park, as you nicely plugged, Mr. Wilk, but I also think it's imperative that we all give ourselves a chance to take a collective breath. We've seen both our students and staff and families struggle with mental health since we have gone back to a quasi-normal post-pandemic life, and I think that, it's worth giving ourselves a moment to take a deep breath and appreciate how far we've come, because it's not just been the pandemic that we've gone through. There's been social injustices and protests, and it looks as if the society, we will continue with that, with things that are going on at a governmental level. So just take time to maybe evaluate your own mental health and those who you love while we're doing this for May, because it's Mental Health Month in May. And also take time to thank a therapist or a counselor or a psychologist, because they have mental health needs as well while they're servicing us. So thank you.
Thank you. Please vote. Ms. Ralston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Ralston votes yes. Ms. Jessie, are you going to vote?
The vote is 8 yes, unanimous, motion passed.
Great. Next, we'll move on to citizen comment time. Those citizens who've signed up in advance with the clerk may address the school board this evening when they're called to the podium. The citizen comment period for regular school board meetings is limited to 1 hour. With the first half hour reserved for comments on agenda items and the second half hour for comments on non-agenda items or other topics germane to the operations and policies of Prince William County Schools. Citizens signed up to speak on agenda items must speak to the agenda item they've identified, or they'll be asked to step down. We have 1 speaker on agenda items and 10 on non-agenda items. Speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. Please use proper decorum manners while at the podium. If you do not do so, you'll be asked to step aside. Also, for the audience, please hold any applause or cheering or any comments as to that's proper decorum as well, and if it continues, then we'll have to take recess. When you're called to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Our first speaker will be Mr. Jeff Fuller.
Hello, board, Dr. McDade, leaders, neighbors. Jeff Fuller from Gainesville District. I came here to talk about the code of behavior changes that are on the agenda. And I want to note that the code of behavior is addressed in the strategic plan. So my comments are basically related to both, if that's okay. The strategic plan makes note of equity 44 times, rigor 17 times. And it also mentions restorative. I think that's really referring essentially to restorative justice. And my concern about the code of behavior changes, although I couldn't quite figure them out, and thanks to Ms. Hubner for explaining to me what happened, and we both learned something in the process. But I couldn't see the red lines on the document, so I don't have detailed comments on it, but I do have a general thrust that I see. And that is that the object of the exercise is to completely move away from things like expulsion from school. This is part of the restorative justice. All you need to do is look around the country, New York City and other places, and see how it's working out there. Crime's blowing through the roof. And I'm afraid the same thing will happen in our schools, simply because the model does not recognize human nature. Now, in the plan, in the strategic plan, it says the following: research demonstrates that restorative practices improve school climate and reduces student suspension and discipline disparities. So we're leveling the playing field, right? We're getting the same number of punishments or behavior modifications in the end. This is what you call basically equity, where the outcomes are the same. Now, the problem I have with it, and I did an exercise which I will send the board. It was a math problem having to do with critical social justice. And what I got out of the exercise is that in the end, you have to be able to answer several questions. Do you reduce the number of incidents that are reported? Do you reduce the number of expulsions flat out? Do you reduce the rate of expulsions relative to the racial group? Do we ask, why are the incident rates higher for one group, identity group, over another? And do we deal with the problem instead of the symptoms? And in the end, do we recognize the human nature of all this? I spent a lot of time in the Army, and I know a drill sergeant, if you tell him, I'm sorry, we're done. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. The next 5 speakers I'll call up to the front: Maggie Hansford, Patricia Coons, Adele Settle, Amy McCarthy, and Brandi Provenzano. Ms. Hansford. Patricia Coons.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Coons, and I'm from the Gainesville District. I'm speaking tonight in favor of collective bargaining. But first, I have some quotes to read from recent articles. Education Week. As teachers' dissatisfaction rates rise and the concerns about teacher shortages intensifies, colleges of education are sounding the alarm. Enrollment has been steadily declining for the past decade. U.S. News. Teacher preparation programs have experienced sharp decline over the last 8 years in nearly every state in the country. Coupled with low pay and historic levels of unrest among educators, the long, stubborn downward trend has those responsible for building the next generation of teachers wondering if the profession can overcome it. It is not hyperbole to say that our country is in a real crisis and public education is in real danger. Education programs are closing across the country and teachers are leaving in mass numbers. Right now, this county is dealing with over 1,000 unfilled staff positions, and I'm willing to bet by the end of the year, it's going to increase. Business as usual in this county will not be enough. No doubt the 7% raise will be quite welcomed by the staff, but is that enough to attract new hires? Loudoun County teachers make approximately $20,000 more than Prince William. We are also home to the most crowded schools and the lowest per pupil spending in Northern Virginia. And the treatment of teachers, from retaliation for speaking out to bullying and demoralizing, leads to toxic working conditions. Couple that with the fact that many have to work 2 jobs or commute over an hour because they can't afford to live here, or to work without pay regularly because of duties as assigned and unused snow days. No wonder these schools have revolving doors on them. They are actually the ones that are tired. Study shows that that states that have collective bargaining have educators that are happier in their jobs and stay in their profession longer. Also, school systems with collective bargaining have higher performing schools. Out of the 10 states that don't have collective bargaining, 4 are at the bottom 10. 7 are in the bottom 15. Without binding teaching contracts, school systems are not doing better. The majority are actually among the lowest performers in the nation, and that's from edsource.org. It's past time to be on the sidelines. Gone is the time to say you're open to it or I don't know enough about it yet. It's been 2 years. As leaders, you should have been studying this regardless of COVID. Your lawyers work for you. You should be leading the charge. You tell them what to do, not the other way around. Tell them to work with the VEA and get the third party to validate these signatures. And lastly, yes, the law gives no guidance, but there are other states that have been doing it for over 40 years, like Illinois and Maryland. I'm sure Dr. McDade knows about collective bargaining. Ask her to get the Illinois guidelines. Call Maryland. Be the leaders we elected you to be. If you really care about Prince William County having a world-class education, without a happy staff, it's not going to happen.
Thank you, Ms. Coons. Ms. Settle.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Adele Settle, and my address is on file with the clerk. I began a nonprofit called Settle the Debt, which pays down Prince William County school meal debt and advocates on the state level for better, more equitable nutrition policies in public schools. I am also the mother of a first grader in Prince William County Public Schools. I'm here today to speak in support of our educators and our staff. Throughout my advocacy for Prince William County students, I've been fortunate enough to partner with Adam Russo and his amazing nutrition staff. Throughout the pandemic, I watched as the nutrition staff went to great lengths to ensure kids had what they needed, in schools and also at home. They stood in the rain and the snow, in freezing temperatures and in 90-degree summer days to make sure that every child who needed food had their needs met. And that was so those children could succeed. As a parent in Prince William County Schools, I am so fortunate to have an amazing, experienced, kind teacher working to help my daughter. Ms. Spain is often the very last car in the parking lot at night and regularly communicates with parents outside of her contract hours. Her own retired mom helps in the classroom to provide added support for her kids. She works so hard to ensure the students have everything they need to succeed. I'm here today to ask that you give our teachers and our staff that first step towards having what they need to succeed too. They know the budget realities we face. Teachers aren't expecting to suddenly become wealthy. But they do know what's best for their classrooms, and they know what can be done to balance the needs of their students while also having their needs met. I'm asking that you trust our educators, especially during Teacher Appreciation Week, and give them the appreciation that they deserve by granting them a seat at the bargaining table. Start the process. Make it your priority. Allow collective bargaining to proceed. Teachers and staff deserve your trust. We trust them with our children every day, and we can trust them to work towards developing the best workplace possible too. Thank you.
Amy McCarthy.
Good evening, Chairman Lateef, Dr. McDade, and members of the board. My name is Amy McCarthy, and my address is on file. I want to start by asking a question of what makes a great school. A great school starts with a great leader. Under the leadership of both Anita Flemons and Alyssa Francisco, Old Bridge Elementary has remained an exceptional school of excellence where students continually achieve and staff, more importantly, do not leave. Ms. Flemons' famous quote to her staff was always, "You're the experts, you know best." She valued teacher concerns, ideas, and solutions to make Old Bridge a better school for our students. Mrs. Flemons always led by example. She reserved the beginning of every school day, working with a small group of struggling students for remediation. This commitment to her students and trust in her teachers make Old Bridge Elementary what it is today. Old Bridge is one of a very diverse schools in this county, and we continually remain a school of excellence with scores that surpass our neighbors before, during, and after the pandemic. Not to mention, we are the highest-ranked non-traditional elementary school in the county. What makes Old Bridge Elementary so successful? Well, the answer is not a secret. Old Bridge leaders created a culture of collaboration and experience, treating us as the experts we are. That is why we hold an unmatched retention rate, a quality that this school division should be carefully looking into with over 1,000 current vacancies. At every grade level, our veterans of over 20 years support and train new staff, guiding them through the ways to be at OBE and providing a built-in support system upon arrival. Our current principal, Alyssa Francisco, was an OBE teacher before becoming our assistant principal and now principal. She continues to foster trust through her commitment to the students and involving teachers in the decision-making process. The other day, a group of students was standing right outside my classroom. I asked, "What are you guys up to? What are you doing?" "We're waiting for Mrs. Francisco," they said. "We have math and reading practice." This touched my heart, knowing Miss Flemons' legacy lives on. If you want a school division as successful as Old Bridge, follow their lead, become equal participants, listen to your staff, and give us a seat at the table. If you want the secret to retaining veteran teachers, follow Miss Flemons' advice and treat us as the experts we are. We know our schools, we know our students, we know our families. Give us an equal investment in our profession. Give us collective bargaining.
Brandi Provenzano.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Brandi Provenzano, and my address is on file. This week, you may notice that some teachers are sharing links to their Amazon wish list or their Donors Choose pages in hopes of acquiring resources for their classrooms. It is, after all, Teacher Appreciation Week. But any profession that relies on Amazon wish lists and Donors Choose is clearly undervalued and underfunded. Imagine if, let's say, an ophthalmologist had to rely on donations to ensure that his patients received the best eye care possible. Can you imagine posting on your personal page, "Here's my Amazon wish list. I'd love to be able to purchase these items for my upcoming surgery." Or having to work a side hustle in the evenings and then attend a patient consult the next morning, bleary-eyed and exhausted. We all know that doctors need their rest to be able to perform their duties properly. No one wants an exhausted eye doctor performing LASIK on them. I know I don't, but I know what you're all thinking. I'm comparing doctors to teachers, and they aren't the same, right? Doctors are highly educated experts in their fields. Yep, teachers not so much. They don't have to complete coursework or training. They aren't college educated. They don't have master's degrees, doctorates, or nationally board certified. I mean, are they even licensed? Certainly they aren't trained to recognize dyslexia, concussions, human trafficking, signs of suicide. They aren't required to learn CPR or how to administer an EpiPen or how to fend off an armed gunman or how to ensure that all of their own content they create is accessible. They could not possibly integrate social, emotional, trauma-informed, culturally responsive practices while differentiating instruction for their ELL, special education, and gifted learners in a heterogeneous classroom of 32 all at the same time. Or could they? Actually, that's what they do, and they do it every day, all day, some without a planning period or even a lunch break. These same teachers, with all of the free time they have in the evenings during their non-contract hours, collected over 5,000 employee signatures across the county because they knew that they deserved a seat at the table, along with bus drivers, custodians, librarians, secretaries, social workers, nurses, cafeteria workers. They should all be a part of the decision-making process in Prince William County schools. They are Prince William County schools. School board members, I know you are very tired and exhausted from the pandemic. You are running on empty right now, but so are we. So let's end this tonight and work together in a partnership for the betterment of all of our staff and students. Thank you.
Next five, Magali Hurtado, Carol Fox, Christopher vonDerberg, Karen Wardle, and Katie Jefferson. Ms. Hansford.
Hi, thank you. My name is Maggie Hansford, and my address is with the clerk. Okay, all right, thank you.
Ms. Hurtado.
Before you start my time, can I give my time to Ms. Hansford?
No.
No? Okay. Well, good evening, Magali Hurtado. My address is on file with the clerk. I'm a temporary employee. I am not a member of PWA, but I appreciate their efforts on behalf of the school community. Above all, I am the proud parent of two Old Bridge Elementary School students. I want to recognize their amazing teachers, current and former, for helping me shape them into the amazing humans I think they are. Quick mom brag here, my fourth grader is very interested and engaged in his social studies. He has taken our family to more historic sites than I can count during this school year, and if there is a guided tour available, he's gonna wanna take it, add comments and questions, and I typically get compliments for the type of questions he asks, the comments he makes, and his overall knowledge. On Monday, we visited Richmond, and both the tour guide or docent at the state capitol and tourist at the Confederate White House asked me, in an attempt to compliment him, I guess, if he was homeschooled or went to private school. Both times, people were surprised when I said, nope, he goes to an amazing public school in Prince William County. It bothered me to see these people who likely haven't had kids in public schools for a while, having so little faith in our public schools. But then I realized that should not come as a surprise when I see the way our school board is treating our educators in their efforts to organize. How can we expect as a society that society treats our educators with the respect and appreciation they deserve when our own school board continues to disappoint and is creating roadblocks towards their efforts? If we trust them with educating our children, if they have proven time and time again that they will do what is needed to educate our kids, why can't we trust them? Why are you insisting in a process for verification that was not used for other groups in our county, or that have not been used at neighboring districts, which you tend to mention quite often, by the way? I read that Chairman Lateef recently said that collective bargaining is not a top priority for him. It is a priority for thousands of employees, so make it a priority. Since I have time, please stop charging substitutes for their optional training, which is the training available for them. As a parent, I want substitutes who can respond to emergency situations with confidence. Charging some of our lowest paid employees for their training doesn't seem like a very smart way to end the substitute shortage that we're facing. Ideally, they should be compensated for their time, but let's not get too greedy here. At least stop charging the equivalent of 2 hours worth of their time, which is about with taxes, for their own training. One last thing, the proposed schedule. Who thought it would be a good idea to even suggest that we send elementary school students home at around 5 p.m.? That needs to not even be an option on the table. Thank you.
Carol Fox.
Good evening, School Board. I'm Carol Fox from the Gainesville District. I'm here to talk to you tonight about why or why not you should support collective bargaining for the PWA. Will this move be good for the students of Prince William County and the parents and taxpayers who support you? Let's take a look at just the past 2 years and the PWA. They demanded that the schools not open in the fall of 2020. What did they do to enforce their demand? Well, they had a car demonstration with child-sized coffins on the top of their cars. They said schools would kill kids and teachers. This reminds me of 2-year-olds in temper tantrums. So what did you as a board do? You gave in to the PWA. The children stayed home. Did it benefit the children? The children did not learn. This was shown by the testing at the beginning of the school year this year. Their abilities in reading and math dropped all across the board. This is shown, did this benefit the parents? The parents did get a firsthand knowledge of what their kids were being taught. It turned parents into activists who learned the truth behind that closed classroom door. They learned that teachers were not on the side of teaching the 3 R's, or on the side of their students, or on the side of parents. No, the students wanted collective bargaining, and they were acting like 2-year-olds to get it. Now the PWA is threatening and trying to intimidate you, the school board. You set out a list of rules for the PWA to follow to implement collective bargaining. The main rule was the requirement to verify the employment status of those signing. Right now, the 2-year-olds are having a meltdown over this rule. The PWA is demanding you accept on blind faith that all those signing are employees of the Prince William County school system. Are you going to give in again? This is not good for students, parents, or taxpayers. Unions will take money from the members. They will then funnel the money into the election officers of the school board members, who in turn will vote for whatever the union demands. This is a circle of corruption. Actually, this circle of corruption makes you, the school board, beholden to what the 2-year-olds are demanding of you. If you want to be as important as the school board, then vote no on collective bargaining. Let's take a look at some of the localities that have great unions. Let's take a look at Chicago and Baltimore. The education of these kids in Chicago is so low that some kids never graduate, and they often graduate with only a 3rd grade level of reading or less. Unions take. They do not require performance in teachers because they negotiate rules against performance. This is not what the students, parents, or taxpayers of Prince William County deserve. Vote no for collective bargaining. If you do vote for this detrimental collective bargaining, then hold your ground for a change and demand to verify the signature cards of the 5,000, or the temper tantrum PWA wins again. And no, do not use my taxpayer money for a third-party verification. Dr. McDade's staff can do it just fine. By the way, Chairman Lateef, oh, my time's up. Thank you very much.
Karen Wardle. Oh, I'm sorry, Christopher vonDerberg. My apologies. My apologies. Mr. Wardle will be next. Ms. Wardle will be next, and then Katie Jefferson.
Hello, my name is Chris vonDerberg, and my address is on file. I'm here because I've discovered an insidious invasion in our schools. Despite headlines across the country for the past few years, I've always thought that Nokesville was insulated from the culture wars permeating nearby school systems such as Loudoun. On a whim, I decided to see if our hometown elementary school library had any of the books that had been discussed. I was shocked and dismayed at what I found. A simple search provided an appalling list of books targeted at K to 3rd grades centered on topics of gender fluidity, cross-dressing, and transgenderism. This is not a topic suitable for children of this age. Their innocence should be preserved for as long as possible, and their innocence is the target. I do want these books removed from the elementary schools immediately. I also want to discuss how they got there in the first place. I believe that they are being placed there deliberately by the school librarian to push a trans-queer agenda. Here are the facts that led me to this conclusion. Another book available at the library and targeted at professional librarians is Serving LGBTQ Teens, A Practical Guide for Librarians. That's right, your tax dollars are paying for the indoctrination material used on your children. This book is targeted at librarians and is designed to teach them how to get around censorship issues and provides trans-queer displays. This is not something needed in an elementary school library. Additionally, the TNS librarian provides evidence in her publicly available Facebook profile. It's a picture of her with the rainbow flag below, the NEA logo, and emblazoned with the words, Educators for LGBTQ Equality. It seems to me that she has an agenda to push and that she pushes it at TNS. I'd like for this librarian to be dismissed. She has proven herself incapable of separating her personal beliefs from the school business of teaching children to read. Additionally, other activist teachers and staff need to know that this type of behavior will not be tolerated. These books are designed to desensitize young children to topics that are too complex for them and defy the wishes of the majority of parents. This is part of an indoctrination program to groom children into gender dysphorias and destroy the nuclear family. The library should be investigated for child grooming to ensure she has not mentally harmed any children at the school with the ridiculous idea that gender is fluid and non-binary exists. I expect that libraries and teacher classrooms will be reviewed for controversial materials such as flags, banners, or books that are being displayed. The material will be removed and the teacher investigated for possible disciplinary action, including dismissal. Our children are not the teacher's children's. Teachers are there to teach a course, nothing else. Anything outside of their course material should be referred to the parent. Like many other parents, I have considered moving my children to private school, but I know in the long run they will still lose. Therefore, I promise to continue this crusade to end the trans-queer push into the public schools in PWCS. I will organize protests, review materials, request FOIs, file lawsuits, and provide information to parents that no longer want this going on. As the school board, it is ultimately incumbent upon you to prevent this type of thing from happening. If you do not work to stop it, thank you.
Karen Wardle.
Hi, I want to thank the board first for allowing me to speak. My name is Kierra Moreno. I'm a longtime employee of Prince William County Schools. My address is on file with the clerk. Recently, the chairman was quoted as saying how exhausted he was post-pandemic. Well, that is something I can relate to. Sheer exhaustion. Like the 8 weeks my husband and I were living in one of those hotels you pay for by the week. After a job loss, we went from proud homeowners of many years to living in a space a 16th of the size. Hearing the clerk spew off frequently asked questions, internet, $10 a week, laundry room on the second floor, snack machine to the left. I still remember opening the door and getting hit with a dank smell with hints of cigarette smoke. Being poor is expensive in America. There was no storage space for large bulky items like laundry soap, so we ended up buying the smaller, more expensive sizes of everything. It all starts becoming about survival. You have to be vigilant about stuff like watching your laundry. If you're expecting a package, cautious when you're going out to get something out of your vehicle, making sure no one's lurking in the lobby or outside. At night, it was even scarier. Every time someone entered their room, it sounded as if it were coming into our room. You could hear couples arguing and kids running up and down the hallways at all times of night. I think I could have counted on one hand the hours of sleep I'd gotten. Thankfully, my husband and I were able to claw out of that pit of despair. Sadly, I guarantee that there are people right now that work for this system that are in the position I just described, if not worse. I wish I could say that my story is uncommon, but it's not. I cannot begin to count the number of times I've thrown a couple bucks to a coworker, bought groceries, or any number of other tasks to help a colleague make ends meet. I'd also like to say that it's only been since the pandemic, but that would be a lie. This is my life as a Prince William County School employee. Collective bargaining would not only improve the lives of Prince William County employees, it is the #1 factor in achieving equitable education for all Prince William County students. I know I am not the first employee to have skated on the fringes of the poverty line.
Thank you, Ms. Wardle.
But I'm hopeful that I will be one of the last.
Thank you, Ms. Wardle.
Thank you.
Katie Jefferson. Ms. Jefferson.
Great. Good evening. My name is Katie Jefferson, and my address is on file. I'd like to take a minute to thank you, Dr. Lateef, school board members, and Dr. McDade for allowing me to speak this evening. Since it's Teacher Appreciation Week, I'd like to take a couple seconds to thank all of the teachers for their support, their kindness, their ability to teach students of all ages, and of course, their dedication even when completely exhausted. I'm going to read a list. It's a long list, and you can think of the basic human right which is granted to educators in these places. If you want to, you can think of like the Billy Joel song. As I read this, you'll get it in a minute. We have Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, go blue. Sorry. Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. And that basic human right is collective bargaining. So contrary to allegations of those opposing collective bargaining for public employees, having the right to bargain collectively does not guarantee outcomes sought by staff and their unions. Nor does it mean that cost savings cannot be achieved. Workers, representatives, and representatives of employers have the right to bargain for their interests. Per item 2A of the International Labor Organization's Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work, the reason why collective bargaining is recognized as an international human right is that the compromises resulting from a process in which workers have an autonomous voice reflect principles of dignity, equity, and democracy consistent with human rights principles. So let's support collective bargaining by voting yes when that time comes, and constructing a resolution to give the over 10,000 Prince William County school employees the basic human right and to be treated well as human beings. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on next to the Office of the Associate Superintendent for Western Elementary Schools. We're going to do the Safe Schools Advisory Council Annual Report. Dr. McDade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Prince William County Public Schools Safe Schools Advisory Council is a standing division-wide council comprised of parents, school division administrators, school division safety professionals, and county-level safety officers. The group was formed on the recommendation of the 2006 Safe Schools Task Force following a comprehensive year-long review of school division facilities and safety and violence prevention procedures. The council is chaired by Michael Lewis, and Dr. Jocelyn Hart, Associate Superintendent of Western Elementary Schools, serves as the facilitator. I want to thank both of them as well as all of the members of the council for their hard work, and I will now turn things over to Ms. Michael Lewis as well as Dr. Hart for the presentation for this evening.
Good evening, Chairman Lateef, School Board, Dr. McDade. I appreciate you listening to our report this evening. My name is Michael Lewis, and I am the chairperson of the Safe Schools Advisory Council. Let's see, I can do this, yes. So the purpose of this council is, it was originally created to support the safety and security of students, staff, and schools. And we convene on the second Monday of each month during the school year. And over time, this has grown to focusing on facilities, security, mental wellness, and preventative services. We have 23 members. The Safe Schools Advisory Council has 2 school board members representatives right now are Mrs. Wall from Gainesville and Mrs. Argapur from the Quills District. Each school board member has appointed a representative for his or her magisterial district. In addition, we have staff that comes from the Office of Student Services, Community Services, 3 principals who are the voice of the elementary, middle school, and high school principals, the Director of Risk Management, Legal Counsel, the Police Department, and the Fire Department. So we have a very diverse council that brings a lot of expertise and passion into this important work that we do. If the members of the Safe Schools Advisory Council would please stand and be recognized. We have a bunch of them here. Thank you. And I too. It's a volunteer council, and people come. They've been working all day long, and then they still come and do this. In recent years, we have done many community information presentations, bullying prevention and training, seminars for families, mental health awareness, and suicide prevention, public service announcements focusing on gang violence and opioid abuse, resiliency at home, school and community, and social media information and community support. We also did an internet safety program last year. We also partner with a lot of outside Prince William County families and try to make sure that we can give them the most up-to-date information and resources on pertinent topics. One of those that is coming up this week is not from the Safety Council particularly, but there is a program going, a video that will start tomorrow on drug awareness for families, and they can find that on the webpage. That is something that we very, very much appreciate happening. In alignment with the strategic plan, commitment number 2 says positive climate and culture. The Safe Schools Advisory Council is submitting the following recommendations to the superintendent and the school board for improved school safety. Create a plan to address the parents who want to help within the schools as hall monitors and volunteers, and who want to actively assist with the security and safety of their children, the teachers, the staff, every student. Monitor the training and implementation of these expectations and requirements for every volunteer. We understand that Regulation 511-10 does provide such expectations and guidance. We also would like to request a review of this regulation with all staff and parents. In addition, we recommend bright, bold visitor badges for easy identification. You can imagine how that would be if you're in a situation where you're looking down the hall and have to see who people are. That bright badge lets anybody know right away that those are volunteers. Improve and tighten school security and building access during arrival and dismissal, and expand the elementary school programs such as Watchdogs with the goal of all elementary schools having the designation of Watchdog partners and programs. Because of COVID, we were not allowed to have parents in the schools, but that has changed. And so this recommendation of working with parents as volunteers and hall monitors is a work in progress at this point. Mr. Crow, the Director of Risk Management, who is at every meeting and brings us information, informed the principals of the schools of the intended purpose of the Bright and Bold visitor badges. In addition, he provided all schools with red lanyards for visitor identification. That has been a huge help. Mr. Crow also spoke with principals about the importance of supervision and visibility during arrival and dismissal of students, and staff has been issued neon safety vests for visibility. If you take your kids and drop them off at school, you'll see that they are wearing those vests, and it is really helpful. Over the next 4 years, we encourage schools to expand the Watchdog program from 32 to 63, and pending approval of a grant, all the schools will be funded and receive training for the No Place for Hate designation. So our superintendent and school board, the county board of supervisors have all collectively prioritized school safety. And in fact, in the news this week, so did the governor. So some of those highlights are $6.8 million for camera and radio security systems. The cameras that we have in some of our older schools need to be replaced. We have a lot of work on that. $1.6 million for 30 security assistants, $1.3 for another 14.2 nurses, recruitment and retention support, No Place for Hate support, student discipline support positions, and FTEs to help support sustainability and energy. So you can see there's a broad, that's a broad budget. And next steps, we have a lot of next steps, but we have it right now down to the expanding No Place for Hate and the Watchdog programs to help increase the parental community presence and increase the awareness of kindness and tolerance. We want to see every school have these programs and parents to be involved and understand what they are and not just think, oh, well, it's done and we don't need to help. So we have 2 videos of school safety programs, and so I'm not sure who turns those on, but if you could start the video, please.
The No Place for Hate is an initiative basically for anti-bullying.
We have been a No Place for Hate school here at Chris Young since 2018.
We've taken off with lots of activities that encourage anti-bullying and bias awareness, as well as cultural diversity and cultural sensitivity.
To become a No Place for Hate designated school, your school has to form a committee comprised of students, parents, and faculty members. You have to have the classes sign the pledge, the promise, and then you have to complete 2 to 3 activities that are school-wide.
The whole purpose of No Place for Hate is to help create an environment where kids come to school every day excited about coming to school and feeling safe. They want to come to school. We know that when kids don't feel safe or don't feel like they are being heard or appreciated, then sometimes they tend to not want to be a part of the school.
It says in the pledge, it says, if I see someone being hurt or bullied, I'll tell a teacher.
Well, there's the big banners that remind us, like, this is a place where we don't tolerate this kind of behavior. And I absolutely think that it is just a warmer, safer feeling.
That is what we are about as a school. Every person deserves an opportunity to be treated with respect and with kindness and gentleness.
Part of the Watchdog program, you help the school in anything they need, which could be school security or just general things that they need help on.
Well, with safety and security, it's a situation where, more people is always better, and the Watchdogs can help with that.
The program's main focus is on school security. You do police the school in a way that you make sure the doors are locked, you are available to the students and the teachers' requests if need be.
Security is highly important, and as a watchdog, it is my responsibility to keep eye on every child, the safety of every child, and to, if I see something, say something.
More people and more eyes everywhere in the school, which is good for security. The school has a limited budget and they can only do so much with what they have. Having volunteers, especially parents that actually care here, provides an impact at a no price.
Thank you. These videos are just a small amount of what those programs can do. These are elementary schools. Watchdog is elementary. No Place for Hate can be in every school, and they have a different way of addressing the high school students, obviously, in middle school versus what happens in the elementary schools, but they are important programs that we need to do. So Mr. Chisholm, who is the vice chair, has a presentation. Do you have it? Oh, there it is.
So, good afternoon, Dr. Lateef, Dr. McDade, and members of the board. As she stated, I am Sam Chisholm. I am the vice chair for the Safe Schools Advisory Committee. And we have a little token of our appreciation that we would like to give to Justin David Wilk. Okay, thank you for your 6 years of service to the Safe Schools Advisory Council. This is the part where everybody can clap.
Yeah. I was trying to put it together. Always a photo op. Do you have any questions before we sit down?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation, and we'll open it up now for any questions that the board may have for our council.
Oh.
Ms. Williams or Ms. Jessie?
I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to thank you for your service on this council. Safe Schools Advisory Council is very intensive. It's very time consuming. A lot of the division, if not all of division, looks forward to your annual reports, and they matter tremendously in our decision making about what we do in regards to having a safe and secure environment for our schools. Your input is invaluable resource for us as board members, and I just wanted to express my gratitude for your service. I know some people have been on there longer than others, and I just, again, appreciate everything that you do. I think it's a very challenging committee because everybody has a different idea of what makes up a safe school, and I have yet to see any programming that didn't make a difference in the lives of our students and staff and Prince William County families. Myself, I'm still very appreciative of the one that was done on internet technology a few years ago. I mean, it's still a household conversation for my family, and everything you do is deserving of recognition and our appreciation, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much.
I too would like to thank the Safe School Advisory Council for all that you do, and Mr. Wilkes, I'm sure you didn't expect that, but that's a real nice gesture because I know you've been an advocate for safe schools for many years. I just have a couple of questions. I think it was a couple of days ago I was in a Zoom meeting with the Northern Virginia School Board Association. And throughout Northern Virginia, and I think throughout the United States, we've seen an increase in the number of incidences that we're having in schools, and the entire workshop was on social emotional learning and that type of thing. Do you have, I'm sure that our security officer will say that there's some problems with sharing data. Do you have access to our incident reports, or do we ever discuss the incidents that are happening in Prince William County School as an advisory council, or is that confidential information that can't be shared with you?
We asked
Are you aware?
Mr. Crow to come and bring us the information on what's going on, like first quarter incidents, second quarter, third quarter. So he does come and give us a briefing on that and let us know. We don't have actual incidents reports that we review, but we do hear about what those are. And the principals that we have on our council also have great insight into what's going on in their schools, and we're able to talk about things that could change, what can be looked at. Dr. Hart is our facilitator, so if we ever have questions and we need something, she can get whoever we need to have come in and give us a briefing on that. So we do hear a lot of that, and looking at the different programs that are starting to come into effect and how that can help us to know what to do next.
I think that when we look at what's happening now in our schools, that this mental health piece is something that I think we've always looked at safe schools as something that we needed, but I think now it's needed even more, and I would hope that your committee would be very active, because I noticed that you said your mental health, wellness, and preventive service. So any ideas or support you can give us, I would really appreciate it. And may I say that I've also noticed that, and we talked about in our discussion in the Zoom meeting about the social and emotional health of our teachers. I think our teachers are also stressed now with all the incidences, and we see things in the newspaper, we see things on the news, and to be honest with you, it's a little bit scary right now. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I would like for you to really look at currently what's happening. I think there's been a shift. Thank you.
Thank you. There has been a shift, and we did as a council really shift where we put our focus this year. Rather, we do have the student services that came in and other departments within the division to give us more of a breakdown of where we can find help for students, where we can try to guide our families to. We can say, yes, these are great programs and we would love you to do them. We don't actually implement those, though there are people that are in charge of that, but they do keep us in touch. We had a great presentation at our last meeting with many mental health and drug addiction, smoking, all of those facilities, counselors, places where in the community where you can go. Of course, we also understand that it's hard to get into, everybody is booked up, but they do keep us in touch with what's coming up, like the drug video that's coming out from the schools. We had 2 children just, die of a drug overdose, and 2 kids. We can recommend all of these things, and then Dr. McDade has been very open to the recommendations that we have and the concerns that we have. So I don't know if you want to add to that or you want to add to it.
Any other questions or comments for the council?
Thank you.
We'll go to Ms. Wall, or did you have Williams? Did you already do yours? You did yours. Okay, Ms. Wall and then Ms. Jack.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. So thank you to the representatives and staff for serving on this committee. It's my pleasure to serve on the committee with you. My comment, and I'll make a comment and then I'll ask a question, I suppose. The grant, well, first ask the question. How about that? The grant for the No Place for Hate designation. Could you speak just a little bit more about that? Is that something we are applying for or we hope to apply for? And would the grant be school specific or would it be for the division so that any school that wanted to take part in it could?
Go ahead. Are you finished, Ms. Hall? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
my question's finished.
That really is a question that's directed more towards our staff in terms of budgeting. The council has identified programming that they believe and support for moving forward. As far as the funding, it's our responsibility to handle that. So we did put No Place for Hate. We did identify No Place for Hate as a program to be funded through our ESSER dollars in the Unfinished Learning Plan, and we have allocated dollars in our budget to continue to scale up. That was one of the initiatives that came out of the work from Denise Hebner's shop under Rebecca Schlater. So Denise, would you like to share anything additional? I think I covered most of that. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, but we have allocated funding for a scale up of No Place for Hate so that schools that would like to participate can do so without having to worry about not having funding for it.
Okay, thank you. That was what I was seeking clarification for. And also the bright, bold badges and the neon vest, did I catch this correctly? We're already moving forward with that?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that will be division-wide?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Mr. Crow took the lanyards to the schools where he's talked to the principals about getting these bright colors and why. And when you walk around at dismissal on arrival, you will see staff with those vests on. So yes, that has gone forward.
Okay, thank you. So I really appreciate everybody who serves on this committee. One of the things that I like about this committee is that we have community partners that sit on the committee and that we can listen to their expertise and the things that they bring to the committee. Their knowledge, their expertise is very valuable. So I hope we continue to listen to community members and their input because safety is a core tenet of our strategic plan. It's essential to the positive environment that we're trying to create in Prince William County. And when kids fear for their safety or they're nervous to go to the bathroom for fear of harm, then we have a problem. And when kids are fearful to ride the bus, then we have a problem. And when kids misbehave in class and disrupt the classroom and teachers are afraid, then we have a problem. When they're on their phones and they're not listening and they're taking pictures of each other and putting them on social media, then we have a problem. So I think that there's a lot of good work that is yet to be done by the committee, and I look forward to seeing good things coming out of the committee and good recommendations. So thank you all for your service on this committee.
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
Mr. Wilk.
Thank you. First, thank you for the recognition. I really appreciate that. I was not expecting it, so you caught me in a little bit of shock, so thank you. It's been a pleasure serving in this group. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize people like Allison Satterwhite, who served the first portion of my term on this, and then, of course, Ms. Wall followed suit with her, so those are overlapping times. It's interesting, a lot of parents use this and get involved, and Mr. Sean Brand was president of the Safe Schools, and he, as we know, was a former school board member after that was done. So I want to thank everyone for that experience. Sam and Michael, thank you so much for your dedication. Dr. Hart, it's been a long run, so thank you for continuing to do this and your dedication. Mr. Crow, thank you for being in there continuously and supporting us. Dr. Robinson, thank you. Chrissy, thank you. Your advocacy on the western part of the county, especially with trafficking and other things, I think it's a key voice to be brought forward. I do have some questions, and it seems like this year, an area of focusing more like, in previous years, like you said, we picked out gang violence, we picked out other things, drugs, et cetera, so social media. This year seemed more like a general theme of school-based situation and then aligning some of the core tenets with the new strategic plan. Can you give me an understanding of why did the committee decide to go this route as opposed to, say, this year we're going to do, I don't know, I'm trying to think, whatever, something, go back to gang violence or something like that again?
I think we all came into it this year, coming out of the pandemic issues, and right away, the fighting in the schools was just bam, 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 all the time. We were getting sent videos, oh, hey, did you see this, or did you hear about this? And so we started out kind of looking at one direction, and then really everybody is like, we need to just get back to the basic tenets of school safety of the students and the staff, Dr. McDade challenged us to take that step up higher so that we can say we are prepared if we did have a serious incident in the schools, that we know what's going on, we know that we're safe. And so that's kind of that's where it started, was with all the fighting, and then we just started looking at all the other more right now issues rather than a general, well, let's just talk about bullying. So, I don't know, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I would like to add to that. So one of the other things you have to take into consideration is that we have to focus, on one area because we have a finite amount of time. You're looking at roughly about 7 meetings that we're going to have. So you have to find that one thing that you can focus on and then zoom in on that. What we'll be looking like as we move forward next year, some of those things that Madam Chair here mentioned, we will look to address some of those issues. But keep in mind, you're dealing with a short amount of time to get everybody there, and if you try to grab a hold of everything, then you really get nothing accomplished.
Good evening, Chairman Lateef, school board members, and Dr. McDade. Just to reiterate what our council leaders have said, when we returned this school year after COVID-19 pandemic, we realized that we just needed to reacclimate to being in-person learning. And it kind of led us in the path of helping and understanding how students could re-socialize and get used to being in school with other folks again, and how important it is that we have supervision at the entrances for arrival and dismissal, coupled with the importance of having visible visitors' lanyards. And so this was truly a back to basics year as we transition out of COVID-19 pandemic. And next year we'll be looking forward to opportunities specifically to help with mental wellness. So thank you. I hope that answers your
I
question.
appreciate it. Just for context, I think that was important. I think for the community, why there wasn't a particular one thing that was the focus of this year. Questions. So one thing we haven't talked about is SROs, which I'm a firm supporter of. And I wanted to talk about a couple things, the value we get by having an actual member of the Prince William County Police Department on our advisory council. Can you talk to me a little bit more about information that's gleaned from them, when it comes to SRO and staffing and stuff like that, that I think is critical for the community to know, because, when, you hear incidents on TV and one of the first things is, well, there should be an SRO in every school. Well, the reality of the economy, just like other national shortages, is that's not possible right now with the shortages of police officers. Could someone want to elaborate a little bit more about any SROs discussions or information?
So you are absolutely on track with the notion of having school security in every school. And so as part of our strategic plan, commitment, positive climate and culture, we have prioritized having trained adults in our schools. As a matter of fact, we have funded 30 additional security assistants. But the best person to talk with us about where we are with school security is none other than the Director of Risk Management, Ron Crow.
Well, it's got an open hide over in the corner for the rest of the meeting, but I guess that's not going to happen.
No.
So we have a longstanding partnership with our school resource officers dating back to the 70s. We talk with them every day, sometimes more often than not. So we continue that partnership with Dr. McDade and a new police chief. We updated our SRO MOU this year on some of our collaborations and how we work together. So we're happy to get that done. Got some community input on that, on what they were looking for moving forward with the SRO program, and we continue to work on that collaboration, improve our communication and how they work in schools with us. So that's an ongoing effort. Lieutenant Lawhead comes to all of our community or our Safe Schools Advisory Council meetings. provides input from, what their operations are and what's going on. And it just depends on what we're focusing on that year as far as, the information they bring to those meetings.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Zarga.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. This may not be under the umbrella of Safe Schools, but I want to bring it up right now. It kind of does. I think we've talked about mental health being a big issue. Oh, by the way, may the 4th be with you. That's why the hair's like this. Just want to get that out of the way. Sorry. Make you laugh. Thank you. So with mental health being so important, I read a book a little while back about pandemics. One of the things that happens with pandemics is there is usually a mental health crisis that accompanies it, usually a wave after, and it lasts a while. So we're going to be dealing with this for a long time. And I went to, I'll make a leap here, back in earlier this year, we had a special ed conference over at Colgan High School, and it was amazing. You walked in, there were vendors, there were all kinds of information, there were workshops. There was this big binder that had this great stuff in it, tabs with here's where you put this information, here's how you take notes, here's who your contact people are. There was even a pencil pouch in there. It was amazing. We need a mental health version of this for our families, K through 12, because we're going to be having some different kinds of issues come up, and it might be nice for families and students themselves to know what is available to them. We have community partners. They show up to this stuff all the time. This month I plan on putting on at least my social media some information where you can get information in case your family is, you've got a family member who's got mental health or drug addiction crisis going on. Even in our community, we have, I remember one meeting where we were talking about getting Narcan, parents asking for Narcan, because there's more of these fentanyl-laced things out in public now. And we saw 2 drug overdoses this past week. And this is unfortunately just a really huge problem. And unfortunately, our schools take on this stuff. And we're going to need a lot more compassion, a lot more information, places for people to know where to go. So I'm going to be putting this stuff out as I find it in my social media. I would love for the division at some point to consider some sort of mental health type of conference that is as great as our special ed one was. And one other thing I wanted to mention was I had the opportunity to listen to some teenagers talk about, these were teenagers who are addicted to different substances, and they were talking about right now how hard it is to be a kid in school. Social media is a hot mess. You have to be, they code switch like crazy because they've got different personalities and different things that come at them in social media. These kids who are trying to remain sober have a hard time in school because there is so much vaping and things going on, and it can be hidden. I know we had a discussion about that in Safe Schools. So these are things that we need to tackle as a community. And that was just a thought I had about that. I would love to partner in some way to work on this, but it's just one of those things I think we have to start planning this. It's important. We need to do this. It's for our kids.
Absolutely, Mrs. Zagapour. Your passion and advocacy are coming across very, very strongly, and we are on the same page with you. In previous years, we did have several community information sessions, and folks were available to provide on-the-spot support to families and students. We have been in conversation about continuing that work this upcoming school year, not one time for the school year, but several times during the year and in different geographic regions of the school division. So we recognize the need for resources, help, and support for our students and our families. And we encourage folks to continue. When you see something, say something. But thank you for that advocacy.
And I do want to, Ms. Zargarpur, note that we are kicking off a training session this week. We also have a webpage that's dedicated to providing resources to family and community around mental health awareness and support that's available to them. So we are hyper-focused on this, and we're providing resources and support. We're doing the training this week, but you should expect more of that to come.
Yeah, we got, if you're a parent, at least Colgan, Dr. Healy sent an email out to parents about that. I made sure I posted about it as well. But it's just, yeah, everything that we can do for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. I have been to the website, and it's great, so thanks. Thank you for the website. I just wanted to say that I love seeing the wonderfully welcoming Chris Young Elementary today in the video, and I'm just really grateful for the presentation and the members on the council, including Mr. Chisholm here from Brentsville, for all their time. And I know what we saw and what you guys discussed is only a snapshot of what you do and what you talk about, and I'm very grateful. So I just want to get some clarification because I'm a middle school teacher and the watchdogs are new to me. And I know there was a video, but would you mind just summarizing just really quickly what the watchdogs are? And if you possibly have information, how many schools have them? And then that wraps up my questioning for the day.
Watchdogs is a program that the dogs is dads.
Dads of great children.
Dads of great children or great students or something. I'm sorry that my brain just went. But it's an elementary school program that we had in the past, and then it kind of fell away when we weren't able to be in school, and then we couldn't have the parents back in there. So it's starting to pick up. We don't have all of the elementary schools doing this program yet, but that is the goal that will come out. We have in the past seen this really change a lot of children's lives in elementary school. When the dads are there, they take it very seriously. They have their schedule, they show up, they do it, and they're there to just help the kids. Something's going on in the hall. They see somebody's having a hard day. They're being able to talk to them and take that and then help them to not end up. I've seen them work with a couple of boys at one school that were just really bullying other children. And these men were fantastic. They talked to him like a dad. They asked him, just what do you think you're doing there? They were really addressing it. And having it in the elementary schools seems overwhelming sometimes for the school because it does take some organization and work to do. So, we're hoping that we can help that along too. But once they get up into the middle school, then we're more in the No Place for Hate. We are looking at a few other programs where we do have dads, like military dads or moms, whoever, that want to be in the schools that are trained. That's why we talked about the training and really making sure that the volunteers that come in know exactly what they can do and can't do, what they can say to help some of these students that if you walk through the halls of any school, you'll see somebody, upset, crying. There's something going on. They're there to make sure that that child is recognized, they're seen, they're not invisible anymore, and that they can go down, talk to the administration, to the counselor, and make sure that these kids get where they need to be to get their help. So we can't always make sure that they're getting to have that help in the community because there is such a waiting list, and we're hoping that more of that opens up. But there shouldn't be any student in any school ever that feels invisible, because you can't hear my voice if you don't see me. And so that's kind of the idea of this that we're wanting to move into next year, of making sure that we're really back to just understanding kids and not coming up with all these brand new things to do, but just recognizing what's happening now. What was happening 5 years ago is different than it is now, and we have to adjust to that. And so that's been a lot of what we did this year, was getting all this information so that we could start putting it into the recommendations and actions. But in a nutshell, that's what the Watchdogs is.
So in addition, Mrs. Jackson, Watchdogs is a nationally organized organization that encourages fathers to come into schools. The DOGS, Dogs, part of Watchdogs, is Dads of Great Students. And in our schools, they are used in a multiplicity of ways, but specifically, our watchdogs are tutors. They support with field trips and field day. They help monitor in the cafeteria. They pretty much are other duties as assigned. And we know that our youngsters and our staff are excited to have dads in the schools. Oftentimes, they are not as available as our moms are. And so when we can designate a day of the week that they are present, we embrace that and we welcome it. To answer your other question, we currently have 32 schools that are actively benefiting from Watchdogs. Watchdogs are optional. It is one of several programs or practices that our schools use in order to support community partnership with parents. Our goal is to extend or expand that 32 to the magic number of 63 because it is an elementary specific program. But hopefully that has given you some background information about Watchdogs, and I'll be happy to provide additional information per your request.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much, and thanks again to everybody that for their time that they volunteer, and including Dr. Mines, you too. And just thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair, or Madam Chair Lewis, Mr. Vice Chair Chisholm, Dr. Hart, thank you very much for the presentation this evening. I can't agree with you more, Dr. Hart, that this year has been a reacclimation, resocialization. The damage done by keeping the kids at home has been devastating. On the board, it's difficult to sort of pick what we need to work on next, what is our priority, and so I recognize on Safe Schools there's a big long list of things that you guys need to tackle, and it's just hard to, in the short time, and by the way, you're the hardest working committee that this school division has with one of the hardest working because you meet so often, so we can't really appreciate it enough. One of my highest priorities is the drug problem in the school, the overdosing that's taking place, very closely tied to mental health, yes, social well-being, and it is of the highest levels and proportions we've ever seen in the recent decades. And then I look forward to hearing whatever you all can do with that, but this will be, at least one of my priorities to encourage the board to work on, and Dr. McDade over the next really few months to see what we can do about this. But I can't thank you all enough for everything you do, and appreciate all the community members and the faculty and the teachers and the principals that support the committee, all of the great work you do. We really appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
So, sir, in closing, Safe Schools Advisory Council is only as strong as our community partners, i.e. our police department, our fire department, our community services board, and especially our student services here in Prince William County Public Schools. We know that we are only as strong as the partners that we have to work with to meet the needs of our community. And with that said, expect awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And
very good.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Dr. Hart took a big drink of water when we started our program our council this year with the talking that we were doing. And she has been a huge help to us. And she means it when she says if you need any other information, she'll get it. But I just really appreciated the help and the trust that she gave to all of us to work on this new, a little bit of a new direction. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I'm gonna take a little chair privilege here. I'm gonna move Charlotte Flynn up for the student. We're gonna have her go next because I know it's AP's finals weeks coming up in AP's, and she is our senior school board member, senior at Woodbridge Senior High School. She joins us on the dais this evening. Charlotte Flynn.
Thank you. Good evening, school board members in Prince William County. I wanted to remark on a few agenda items tonight. Firstly, the student representatives and Senate have worked hard on the start time survey, and it has been officially released. You can find the survey in your inbox. All students should take the time to fill this out so we can hear your input and make appropriate changes for next year. May 13th is the deadline to complete it, so be sure to check your emails. I hope that with this feedback from the county, we can move forward and make decisions that are in the best interest of student mental health. On this note, the school board recognizes May as National Mental Health Awareness Month. This is one of the most pressing issues facing our students today and can affect many aspects of their lives. It is important to recognize this obstacle and spread awareness and solutions to improve the health of Prince William students. I encourage everyone to support each other and find the necessary resources to help themselves and others. I hope that with the start time survey and additional mental health initiatives throughout this month, this issue will be better understood and recognized. In one final point of discussion, I want to again recognize our teachers for all their hard work. It's Teacher Appreciation Week, and I want to thank all of our teachers on behalf of Prince William students for their constant support and efforts to help us grow and nurture our education. You are our strongest supporters, and I appreciate all the hard work and dedication each and every teacher has put into making learning valuable. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak tonight. I appreciate my time. And one last thing I wanted to add. I actually presented earlier this year to my high school principal something that Ms. Zargapur was talking about a not really an activities fair for mental health, but it would be a chance for students to create presentations, do research on specific mental health problems that they are interested in or that they want to work with, and they would work with their school psychologists and other mental health professionals to put this on and allow students to come in and learn more about these problems. So I have a presentation, and I'd be willing to work with you guys more about something like that in high schools or in any other aspect. So thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Zargapur.
So Ms. Jackson and I also met with a student from Garfield High School who did a presentation for us. I think this is a fantastic idea. Peer groups are really important. Students helping students, learning more about all this stuff. I love it. I think it's a fantastic idea. Let me know how I can help support you in doing those things.
You keep talking, Ms. Flynn, we won't let you graduate.
No, please let me graduate.
Wahoo wah. Thank you, Ms. Flynn. We're going to move on next to, I think we're up to the revision of the 22-23 Code of Behavior. Dr. McDade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The changes to next school year's Code of Behavior were presented at the April 6th meeting, and we do not have any additional changes that have been identified since that time. It is on the agenda for information this evening, but I do have present our Associate Superintendent for Special Education and Student Services, Ms. Denise Hebner, is available to address any final clarifications if necessary.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you. I do have one question because I just love the Code of Behavior, Ms. Hebner, as you know. I want to say again, because I can't say it enough, how much I appreciate the update to dress codes and discipline. I know that a lot of conversation around discipline, we don't always include that the majority of it comes from the state. Whatever occurs at the state, we have an obligation and a requirement to follow whatever new mandates are passed from the General Assembly, and those in turn get updated in our Code of Behavior. I'm excited, I think, because I believe this year, not only is the Code of Behavior format easily digestible for once, because I have no shame in admitting how much I hated reading any format since when I was in elementary and you got the book and you could flip it open and color on it. So I'm very excited about the format changes. And then I believe we're working on as a division sort of like a cheat sheet to make certain parts of the Code of Behavior even easier for our parents, students, and families to understand. Is that correct?
That's correct. We do have we're calling it a family guide or a quick reference sheet so that you can
look at that and have a better idea of the general contents of the code of behavior, but also specifically where you can find specific information.
I really appreciate that, and I know so many other families will appreciate that as well. And then because I just love dress code stuff, and it's my favorite topic, and also a favorite topic of our students, especially this year, I understand that we as a division are also doing some retraining on dress codes and how we implement dress codes or enforce dress codes, things of that nature. If you could talk a little bit about that, I think parents and students would appreciate that, and probably anyone involved in the training.
Sure, so I'd be happy to address that. We do look at data, and one of the pieces of data that we have looked at this year is while the dress code infractions really, or the number of that are entered into our system are very minimal, it's really the enforcement that we're finding to be inconsistent with the dress code. And so along with a lot of other areas, we hear, I hear the messages that we're concerned about student behavior in buildings and mental health and what have you. We really intend to take a very comprehensive approach in helping our schools understand, what the code of behavior really is. It's about intervention, prevention, recognizing where behavior is coming from, but also importance of implementing the code of behavior, including the dress code in a consistent manner. And so there will be comprehensive, a lot of opportunities for not just the dress code, but other aspects of implementation of the code of behavior this summer.
I just want to thank you. This year, I think one of my top 5 complaints from students and families was dress code enforcement. And I think it's a difficult thing because a lot of it revolves around perspective, and we haven't had 4 generations making a decision on what type of pants are appropriate for a 9th grade student or whatever. So I appreciate the division's commitment to continually training and modernizing, and especially now with this administration, having as my school board member next to me always says non-negotiables across the board. I think that'll help service our students and our families well. And I know our female students who were the bulk of the complainers to me about dress code violations will appreciate that. So I just wanted to draw special attention to that and say thank you for all of your work. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Ms. Zargarpur. And then Ms. Jessie.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. Oh, was she first? Oh, okay. Oh, he's just... Okay. All right. So we had a speaker who came up earlier who talked a little bit about their concern of I think maybe it kind of falls in that bucket of restorative justice. And we talk a little bit about a research base and practices and things like that. And I know I'm familiar with, like, unless you do something to fidelity, it can have some wiggle room. Could you briefly touch on how do I put this? Because there's some people who think we need to be more punitive, and then there's a body of research that talks about removing students from classrooms is detrimental across all gender, race, all of this stuff. So is there like a can you give us like the minute version of like how the research supports what we're going to be doing and how we're going to do it to fidelity and what those checks and balances might end up looking like? Or I know that's kind of a big topic, but is there a way we can sort of help out our public?
Yeah, I want to make sure that what we provide is accurate. So I would rather that we follow up with the research and give you some in-depth perspective about that. If there's any general things that you want to say related to Ms. Zargarpur's question, please do. But let's make sure that we don't cite anything that we can't support.
Sure.
Documentation.
I think in general, I think it's important that everyone understands that we recognize that behavior and discipline occurrences or infractions of the code of behavior are really a behavior. It's a sign of something else. There's a root cause behind that. And really, we take our direction from the Virginia Board of Education through their model guidance. And what the model guidance is seeking to do is uniform our responses and recognizing that some of the lower level or the categories and the responses are an indication of perhaps a bigger problem, and really encouraging schools to use data to make good responses and put interventions in place that would prevent us from getting to the point where children have to be removed. We recognize that kids can't learn unless they're in school. So the goal is really to standardize our approach and put interventions in place so that our kids can be successful academically.
Thank you. That was an excellent way of putting it.
Ms. Jessie.
Hi. As we look at the changes and the incidences, the increases in incidences, this code of behavior booklet, I think has to be considered a document that is usable and really implemented in a way that includes the students and the parents. I remember the coloring book, by the way, Mrs. Williams, and I used to run around with all those kids and say, we go through the code of behavior for kindergartners. That's always fun. They listened, but they really didn't care. And they did what they did as kindergartners. But as I'm looking at incidences, I'm wondering, how do we make parents more aware? I've been in those hearings where OSMAP, and when this child is in serious trouble, we roll out the code of behavior and say, parents, you didn't do this, according to our code of behavior. I think you've got some strategies to make this a more usable document for parents. Would you share that with the public?
Sure, Ms. Jessie, I'd be happy to. As I spoke to a little bit earlier, we do have a one-page quick guide that we are going to be implementing. We have thoughts and plans around when we complete our start of the year packets, we refer to as the new school year packet, really emphasizing and highlighting for parents how to look at and access the code of behavior, as well as really part of our family engagement, parent outreach about strategies that parents can help their children with academically at home. Because as a principal, former principal, I don't have to tell you that really the purpose of the code of behavior is to keep the learning environment focused and to keep children safe. Those are the two things that the code of behavior does. And so really looking at the behaviors in the classroom and how we can support through positive instructional methods and keeping our kids engaged will be another approach that we take. But our families are an important partner in education and in discipline, and we do plan on communicating both through the family guide and just through part of our family engagement series.
Is there any way of ensuring that they've actually read the code of behavior?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Is there any way of ensuring that the parents have actually read the code of behavior?
So,
yeah, I'm not sure we can totally ensure that someone actually read it. I do know that we're putting some things in place to make sure that we can determine whether or not it's been received. So signing off on that in the back to school packets that, families have received documentation, but there's no way for us to ensure that someone's actually read it. More so that they've received it and have been made aware of the student code of behavior.
So at the high school levels, I know at the elementary level, we always made sure this happened. So at the high school levels, parents now have to.
As part of at the beginning of the year, you probably remember this, on the emergency card, there is a place for parents to sign and acknowledge that they have reviewed the code of behavior. But as Dr. McDade said, we can't force that, but we are highlighting and emphasizing to parents the code of behavior and expectations.
At incidences in our schools, are we looking at ways to interact with parents in a different way, considering that we have it's a different mindset right now?
So, Ms. Justy, one of the things I'm really excited about is now that we have this amazing strategic plan that is our roadmap and our North Star, our individual departments will be developing their own plans based on data, based on root cause analysis and forming strategies. So I definitely anticipate that we will be doing just that, looking at different aspects of that, and hopefully that will have a positive outcome for us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Dr. Lateef. I was glad to see that there was a link in board docs to the collaborative input teams, and I have a question about that, and I have a couple of other questions. So for these teams, I'm assuming most of these are by appointment, but if a parent or a community member wanted to get involved with revisions or reviewing the code of behavior, is there a way for their name to be put forward, or how do these individuals' names get put forward, especially from the parent or the community?
So I'll turn that over to Ms. Duggar. We do put out a notice inviting people to submit names and interest in participating in the review committees. I'll let Ms. Duggar speak a little bit about how parents are selected.
Good evening, Dr. Lateef, school board members, and Dr. McDade. For the most part, we have administrators who, from all across the divisions, who join the committee. And each year they're asked to either return or send a new representative. And this year, each administrator that was on the committee was responsible for bringing 2 parents and 2 students from their school. So the information went not only back to the school, but also to the families in the community through the various means in that building.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. So, so I suppose if a parent was really interested in this topic, then they could maybe contact their principal and just say, "Hey, I'm really interested in this topic," or because I know not. I mean, I'm assuming the superintendents. Let's see. Sorry, they can reach out to me as well. I'm not sure which committee it is, but anyway, it looks like it's a revolving list of like school principals and other
Yes,
people, right?
and we do, obviously, we update that every year with input from the levels, but if parents are particularly interested, they may reach out to their school principal. The principal can get a hold of me, or they can reach out to me directly. My address and email address and information is on the website.
And is it a term? Is there a certain term, or is it just as as their interest and ability to volunteer?
For the parents or for the
For
administrators?
parents, yeah.
For the parents, it's a year-to-year situation.
Year-to-year. Okay, thank you. I had a question. So one of the citizen comments was about expulsion, and maybe we were getting soft on crime or something, or I think that was his phrase. So I wanted, as I looked through the code of behavior, it looks like expulsion is still on the table. I mean, we added a category F, right, which was persistently, I can't remember the name.
Persistently dangerous.
There you go.
You're correct.
Persistently dangerous behaviors. So I think, the addition of that category, that was a state model guideline edition, right? That we're
So yes, using the blueprint in the model guidance, there are behavior categories, A through F. It recommended leveled responses. In the category persistently dangerous, and F, that is a category, and behaviors that fall in that category are reported not only to the state superintendent, but to law enforcement officials as well. And that is something that is outlined by the Virginia Department of Education and the Board of Education that schools are to implement.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a good clarification, right? So if we have things that are very serious that are happening, that law enforcement needs to know about, we're not getting soft on that. Like we're doubling down on those dangerous behaviors.
We have very specific requirements, and yes, and one of the goals of the document itself, if you turn to page 24, which it is posted on the website, there's a chart, and it helps us level our responses. And what that does, it makes sure, or it gives us guidance, so that we're not responding in a way that's either not strong enough or not or overly aggressive. So the sanctions are leveled, and that's the idea of that chart, is to help administrators in schools follow the guidelines to make sure that we're making decisions that are measured responses according to the Virginia Department of Education.
I looked through that and I thought it was great. And so are those relatively recent additions to give more consistency and guidelines to administrators to know like what kinds of, I guess, discipline are appropriate for various levels of behaviors, right? That's relatively recent.
So the behavior categories were implemented in our code of behavior last year, 2021, and also in this current. Those were part of the 2019 model guidance, and really there's a new reporting system and reporting structure by the Virginia Department of Education, the Student Behavioral Administrative Response reporting, and those align with that reporting requirement.
Thank you for that clarification. I really appreciate it. So I had a question about if you could tell us just a little bit. I know Say Something is one of the additions into the Code of Behavior, the Say Something program, which I think is great. And is there anything that you could be prepared to say tonight about how that is going, or that Say Something prevention program and what it's doing for us, or how
Sure.
it's helping us?
The Say Something has really been implemented by our team in risk management. They do partner closely with all of the schools. From my perspective, where that comes in is I have people on the ground floor, the mental health professionals at schools, and I will say, from my experience, our mental health professionals are receiving information of children who need follow-up at school for behaviors that are reported that may be occurring outside in the community, but we can support from a school standpoint. I've had a very positive experience with it. I don't have anything specific about Say Something. I don't know if Mr. Wallingford would like to speak to that, or Mr. Crow, but I have received nothing but really positive feedback on that.
Okay, that's great. I mean, I know it's a need, right? And I'm hoping that as parents get more and more familiar with the fact that it exists, that it will become an even more valuable tool.
So something I would like to just say is that I think the most important thing for our parents and our students to remember is we have people in schools that are there to help kids. You know, we want to help you, and we want to have positive relationships and trusting relationships with adults. It's always best if there's something that's occurring, please seek out that trusted adult that's in the building, because those are the people who are there on the ground floor that can help you the most. But if you're not comfortable seeking out that trusted adult or a staff member, then do use the anonymous line, because we do want to put things in place for safety and for helping our students.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, actually. I mean, that we remind ourselves that we have caring adults in our schools that are there to help kids, and parents can reach out. But yet, if there is a need for an anonymous reaching out, then this is a valuable tool. So hopefully we can keep reiterating that message and build that relationship of trust with the community and with our students, that we're there to help. We're there to help them. So thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Jackson.
Actually, thank you, Dr. Lateef. Ms. Wall and Ms. Agapur kind of touched on my question from earlier. Because in recent meetings, you briefly mentioned like the impact of Richmond on our code of behavior. And then I just had follow-up questions about, or clarification, I should say, about some of the reasons for the change, specifically the category F and the tiered behaviors. So not to be redundant, but you already kind of touched on it, but if you have anything else you want to add on it, and then thank you for your time.
Sure. So, like we had mentioned, there are behavior categories in there with leveled responses, and while the category F has existed, it is being added into our code of behavior. The 21, the new revised model guidance does outline that, and there are now mandatory reporting requirements that are in place this year, and so we have added that to the code of behavior so that it is apparent to not only our parent community, to our students, to our staff members, that if something egregious does happen in a school, there are systems and mechanisms to report that, not just to the school, but to law enforcement, to ensure the safety of students. So our goal is to keep students and the learning environment very safe, and that's just one more representation, a visual representation of that.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Wall.
Okay, I have one more question. I'm sorry. So, I was not able to find this in the Code of Behavior, but do we have provisions in the Code of Behavior? I looked through the whole document, but that have to do with cell phone usage in class, what's appropriate, what's not, like students sitting in class while the teacher's teaching, put the phone away, or some kind of guidance, because I am aware that this is a big and growing problem that is a behavior problem, because of course, cell phones are fun and they're very addictive and they're interesting, and social media is likewise attractive, but it's also very problematic. Is there anything in our code of behavior that addresses that from a student responsibility perspective, especially like middle school, high school?
Yes, there is language that talks about the use of cell phone or electronic devices on school buses, and that's with the permission of an adult in an appropriate manner. It is outlined clearly. I want to remind people that we do also use our cell phones as learning tools. They can access different learning, platforms and what have you. So we don't say no cell phones in school. What the language talks about is appropriate use. There's references in the cyberbullying in those sections. I could provide you at a later date the more specific. I don't have it right in front of me. I know that it is in there, but I don't have the page number of exactly where that is. But there is language in there that talks about cell phone use.
Okay, great. And that's not just on buses, but also in classrooms?
Yes, it speaks to on-school grounds. Yes.
Okay, that would be super. Thank you.
Please vote. Are we voting on this? Oh, we got 2 weeks.
So thank you, Dr. Lateef,
This
for that.
felt like 2 weeks.
Yes, tonight we're on for information, so I could answer your questions, and we'll be bringing it back on
Okay,
consent.
good. All right, so we're voting next time?
You're voting
All
next
right.
time.
What did you do? Weren't you here last time?
I feel, yes.
Nonstop you
Yeah.
are. Right.
We presented this at the April 6th meeting and went through all of the details, and Ms. Duggar shared side by side of what the changes were.
Thank you, sorry. All right, excellent, we're not voting. Now, we're moving on next to superintendent's time. Dr. McDade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. The first week of May, as we have all acknowledged thus far, is Teacher Appreciation Week, and across the division, our students, parents, and school communities are showing their appreciation for our incredible educators in a variety of ways. There is not a professional anywhere who deserves appreciation more than our teachers, and I'm lucky enough to have had many teachers who genuinely cared about me and even changed the course of my life. And so I want to say to all of our teachers, I want them to know that they really are our heroes for children. And I want to encourage our students and our school communities to reach out to a teacher who has impacted your life and make sure you celebrate them this week. It definitely means a lot. And speaking of our outstanding educators, the nominations are in for this year's Teacher of the Year and Principal of the Year. These individuals were nominated by members of their community for their excellence. You can read the names of all nominees for Teacher of the Year and Principal of the Year at pwcs.edu, and finalists will be honored at a ceremony on May 24th. May 1st was Decision Day, and I know that this week is a special time for our seniors as they share what their next steps are after graduation. And I've seen many posts and announcements from members of the class of 2022, and I am excited and celebrating along with them. We have students heading to colleges and universities across the country and across the world. Some of our upcoming graduates have committed to military service, and many will be entering into the workforce. So to our seniors, I wish you enormous success in your next chapter. PWCS will recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of graduating seniors who have obtained full-time employment or committed to military service at the upcoming 2022 PWCS Signing Day on May 25th, which will be held right here at the Kelly Leadership Center. All families of high school seniors have received information on how to register for that event. Last week, the Board of County Supervisors passed the 2023 budget, and PWCS is incredibly pleased that we will be able to enhance our pay plans and get us closer to regionally competitive pay for our staff. We are investing more than $80 million in salary increases for our staff. This is the single largest increase in the history of PWCS. Employees received an email last week with information about the new pay scales and what that means for them. We are also offering compensation webinars on May 10th, 11th, and 12th for any staff member to learn more about the change to pay scales and to address questions and concerns that they might have. Employees can refer to the May 3rd edition of the Communicator to register for the webinar. Additionally, employees can find answers to frequently asked questions related to the employee pay scale on the Compensation and Classification section of our Human Resources Department webpage, pwcs.edu. PWCS is also proud to recognize May as Better Speech and Hearing Month. I want to recognize the transformative work of our team who provides services for our students with hearing and speech impairments. Teachers, certified interpreters, and our speech language pathologists are vital to ensuring all students learn and achieve. I also want to conclude this evening by noting that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we've heard a lot about mental health awareness throughout this meeting this evening. As a part of our strategic plan, we will be continuing to address the social and emotional needs of all of our staff and students. We are expanding our division-wide social emotional learning so that students have strategies for dealing with stressors. As part of the PWCS HEALS initiative, employees will be provided opportunities to become part of learning communities within their school buildings with a focus on teamwork and self-care. SEL specialists across the county are focused on promoting the social and emotional wellness of our school communities. One example of the work happening by our SEL specialists was the Battlefield Health and Wellness Walk and Fair that I had the opportunity to attend last Saturday. It was a successful event that provided a wealth of information and resources to support physical, mental, and emotional well-being within the community. There are many other examples like this, such as the Suicide Awareness Walk hosted by Forest Park High School that's coming up. I want to invite everyone to join me at this year's Suicide Awareness Walk at Forest Park High School on Saturday, May 7th, beginning at 8:30 a.m. This event is free for the Prince William community. There will be guest speakers, vendors, a 6.2-mile walk, to honor those we have lost and give hope to the many who still struggle with mental health issues. Our Student Services team has compiled resources, and more on the Mental Health Awareness Month webpage can be obtained by visiting pwcs.edu and go to the Student Services page or look for articles and features in the Scoop each week during the month of May. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. McDade. Very appreciated. Before we move on to board matters, we'd like to take one moment to congratulate our Deputy Clerk, Brandi Reeves. She's gone. Oh, great. Brandi's accepted a position with the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department as their FOIA officer effective Monday, May 9th. Brandi came to us from Fairfax County Public Schools in December of 2020, where she served as a FOIA officer there. We wish her all the best in her new endeavor. So thank you, Brandi. Folks, I thought I'd be out of here a little bit earlier. I'm going to switch around board matters a little bit, and I will go first this evening because I have to be on a flight extremely early tomorrow morning to go to Dallas with the dozens of students we have participating in the VEX World Championship Robotics competition, including one of my kids. So I'll be leaving early. So first of all, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. I cannot thank the teachers enough for all of the amazing work they do for our students, all of the hard work they've had to do since coming back to school, all of the hard work they're implementing with our recovery, re-engagement, and acceleration program, all of the hard work they're doing with our Launching Thriving Futures work. We know they're putting in great work effort. When I ran for office, one of my core commitments to the community was to increase teacher salaries. In the 5 years I've served on this board, the salary increases were 4.8% raised my first year, 4.8% raised the second year, 2.4% in the pandemic, 5.0% last year, and 7.0% this year. It has been an incredible increase, and as you heard from Dr. McDade earlier, a record increase this year, provided, I believe, we'll still be able to do it, but we got to make sure that state budget gets passed. That is absolutely critical. So for all of the folks out there interested in making sure we pay our teachers better, please lobby your delegates, the governor, to make sure, and your state senators, to get this budget passed. It is absolutely critical for the work we need to do moving forward. I want to thank Dr. McDade, the team. There was an incredible job fair. I don't know if the stats are fully out yet, Dr. McDade, but we had 44 businesses come to the Kelly building, and we had about 280 students, 400 students participate. I don't know how many left with jobs, but I might be screwing up the numbers.
I believe over 80 left with jobs.
80 left with jobs.
So we're confirming that, but it was a high number of students that actually
about 300
walked away.
showed up and over 80 left with jobs that evening.
The exact
like
number who participated,
Yeah.
Rita, do you have that? I think
It was
actually,
280?
I have. So it was about 251 students
Yep.
that attended.
Yep.
And over 80 walked away with job opportunities.
And that
we
is
had
fantastic.
over 40 employers were on hand to
40
participate in the
employers.
event.
And so I commend all of those of you who worked to set that up. That was fantastic. I want to congratulate our seniors. Today's decision day. I've seen a lot of great things from the different high schools posting over the last few days. Some great stuff. Follow our high schools on Twitter. They're putting out great stuff about where our seniors are going. They're going to college, 4 years, 2 years, military, jobs. Some great stories out there happening on a daily basis. Going back to the Teacher Appreciation Week, I've spent my time, and I don't know what my timer is, but I'm sorry, committed to making sure we did better for our teachers. And, I want to remind everyone that Forbes magazine, did an external survey. We were the top school division to work for in the Commonwealth of Virginia last year. Our retention rates for our teachers remain higher than the state average and continue to remain higher than the national average. So I want everyone to know that, Prince William County is a great place to work. It is a fantastic place to work, and I'm very proud to oversee this amazing school system with an amazing group of teachers, staff, principals, and dedicated professionals. Thank you all very much this evening. I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Vice Chair, Madam Ms. Jackson. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lateef. I think you go last today, correct? So we're going to start with you.
Question, Ms. Jackson. If the board has any, without any objection, I would like, given the nature of what Ms. Jessie's going to do, I'd like to cede my 3 minutes and give them to her, so she has 6 total minutes.
Okay, but you're going to add it towards...
Give her my 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. All right, then Ms. Agapor? Thank you, Mr. Ripple.
Thank you. This will be quick. I participated at the Kyle Wilson Walk, which was a lot of fun. The school was named after a firefighter who lost his life fighting a fire. And we got to meet his family. The fire department came out and had all kinds of great things for the kids to look at. It was a great way to remember a hero from our community. I also went later that day to fast pitch softball, got to toss a softball out. I got a lesson from a young girl, I believe her name was Grace. Was it Grace? Grace, yeah. She was adorable and taught me everything I know. And then later that evening, I got to go to see Cinderella at Osborne Park. Or was it in the afternoon? I don't even remember. It was a long day with Miss Wall. So it was fantastic. They put on a great performance. These kids did such a good job bringing the characters to life. It was fantastic. Last week I got to do the groundbreaking for the new elementary school, Rosemount Lewis location in Manassas, seated in the Brentsville district. It is Teacher Appreciation Week. I want to recall a couple of my teachers. I have many that I actually would love to bring up, but because I studied music, I'm going to talk about Mr. VL, who was my first band director in middle school at Parkside. He did this really cool thing where he made me feel like I was the best flute player in the world, that just encouraged me to practice more. So I really think it was just him doing that. And then in high school, I had Mr. Carnahan at Osborne Park High School. And without them, I would not have been set on the path of being a musician, getting a scholarship to college, having some fantastic opportunities playing in orchestras, bands, touring with the Air Force Band as a substitute flutist, getting to do so many of the things that I've got to do professionally as a flutist, and then now as a general music teacher. So without them, I would not be who I am today. My dad was also a math teacher. I got to see him work very, very hard. He brought work home every night. He would make tests. He spent out of his own pocket on materials in his classroom. Yes, they were doing that in the 70s and 80s as well. He was a math teacher. He used to teach geometry by making string art pieces with his students. So that story is continuing today. Teachers, I know, I see you, I hear you. I know how hard everyone's been working. And thank you for your dedication to our students and to the art and science of teaching. I'm going to end right now with just saying it is Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you.
Thank you, Ms. Agarwal. Ms. Wall.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. So I've heard it said that teaching is the greatest act of optimism. And so for all those teachers out there that are optimists, you're in the right profession. We've all had a teacher at one time or another who's made such a difference in our life that we can't imagine that our life would be the same if we had not crossed paths. And I have certainly met teachers in my life like that. And so to the teachers in my children's lives who have made a difference, thank you. And to all teachers everywhere, you have a very important job, and you hold the future in your hands. Thank you for all that you do. I want to highlight a couple of events that I have attended over the last couple of weeks. I guess it was Saturday the 20th through the 23rd, iLight and Supernova represented Prince William County schools in Houston for the first Robotics Worlds competition, and they both did great. They didn't come away with wins, but to be, in all seriousness, the competition was incredible. And there were teams from all over the world that were there, including some really amazing teams from Silicon Valley and other places. So we did well. We held our own. And congratulations to all those students who participated in that. I also want to congratulate all state musicians. All State for Orchestra was Saturday the 22nd through the 23rd, and this is the first time in 3 years that these events were held in person. I know it takes hours and hours of practice and determination to make it to that level, so congratulations to all those students. I loved this performance of Cinderella at Osborne Park, and I learned that the set and the costumes were made by the students, which was incredibly impressive. There was also a live pit orchestra led by Mr. Kelsey, orchestra teacher at Osborne Park, who also is my son's bass teacher. So of course I think he's awesome. And it was such a great performance by the orchestra and the students in the performance. I was also happy to attend a Tyler Elementary School Parent Information Night where the FBI visited and shared a powerful message under the direction and support of an amazing leadership team at Tyler Elementary School. On the 29th, I went to Mountain View's Arbor Day celebration where we celebrated the planting of a sweet bay magnolia and pledged to protect that tree. And the first graders provided some amazing songs and dances, and there was even a special performance or a special presence of the therapy dog named Furcus. The Battlefield's Wellness Walk and Fair was last Saturday and was put on by the counseling staff, and wow, they put so much effort into that. It was so thoughtful and such a valuable resource for the community, and so I commend Battlefield High School for raising and elevating the issue of mental health. It's all connected: mental health, physical health, social health, intellectual performance, academic performance. It's all related. And so I thought they did a great job at highlighting that. And with that, I appreciate Safe Schools Advisory tonight. I already spoke about that. Thank you for all that you do. And with that, a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Ms. Williams? Okay, I'm going to break protocol, and I'm going to go next. Is that okay? Okay. Okay, and then we'll finish up. All right, over the past few weeks, I was fortunate to attend a variety of school events. I was able to attend Oath Day Field Day at Westgate and hang out with some amazing staff and students. Dr. Lateef and I attended the 422 event at Patriot High School, where Patriot High School honored former pioneer Josh Morrison. And Josh Morrison was a member of Patriots baseball program and was a founder of the Red Nation Spirit Group. No one on the Patriot baseball team has worn under 22 since Josh lost his life in December 2013 after accepting a scholarship to play at baseball at GMU. During this event, the entire baseball team wore all 22 and unveiled a special commemoration for his mother. It was an honor to attend and be invited to the event. I was also fortunate to attend Gainesville Middle School's drama presentation, the cabaret performance. It was a wonderful night filled with immense talent. Lastly, many members of the superintendent's team, Ms. Jessie, Ms. Zagarpour, Dr. Lateef, and I were able to attend the Rising of Rosemont Lewis. While there, we were able to see the building skeletons. It looks great, and I'm very thankful to Mr. Shroki and the whole facilities and construction team. Congrats to Ms. Stroud and the newly appointed principal. I'm very excited for this community. This week is Teacher Appreciation Week. I'm grateful to all teachers, itinerates, and teachers' assistants for everything you do for students daily. There are not enough words for gratification. I hear and appreciate all staff voices now and during all weeks, and also Happy Teacher Appreciation Week to Ms. Zagarpour. I know this year has been incredibly hard on staff and students. I'm thankful for the commitment and love that staff have for their students. I'm sending love to my kids' teachers and sending love to my former and current students. Good luck to the robotics teams, and have a great night. Thank you, and Ms. Ralston needs to go. Ms. Ralston?
What was the question?
Do you have any board matters, ma'am? Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Williams, Ms. Jessie.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I appreciate the shift in protocol this evening. I'm going to try to go fast because I'm going to tie into Ms. Jessie's board matters. So I want to say first, happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all of the teachers. As one who hears annually from family members and sorors about Teacher Appreciation Week, and I try to share the love, I just wanted to say thank you. I also want to, in that spirit, congratulate Dumfries Town Council member, also my soror, Miss Cindy Neville, who has opened a new literacy center in Dumfries. I'm super excited about, and I know that she is too. And education is our focus, so I just wanted to say congratulations to her publicly. I wasn't able to make the event. Some events that I did make this past couple of weeks was last Saturday, Kilby had a STEAM event on a Saturday, which is part of their 21st Century Vision Grant. I was able to attend the Dale City Neabsco Great Minds students graduation, which thank you to Pink Theory Space and AAU, which is AAUW, American University Women. I'm sorry if I misquoted that. Today, I was able to so excitedly attend Freedom's Decision Day to see their students. It was such an honor that to be present. Supervisor Franklin was also in attendance, but they honored not only students going to four-year universities, but apprentices, trade programs, and all of the above. Very exciting. Thank you to Dar Al-Nawar Mosque for inviting many of us elected officials to their iftar dinner. It is always a pleasure for me to expand past my learned boundaries and learn something new and share an experience of culture that's different to mine. Thank you to Fred Lynn for inviting me to their Comic-Con. Spent way too much money, if there is such a thing, on student art. Cannot wait till next year. All of the art in my house is framed and up. That students did, as well as other vendors. I want to say the Title I night, family night, keeping math skills sharp, was also amazing. Learned a lot. Last up, I have to, Justin, just honor Potomac High School's culinary program because it's still near and dear to my heart. Go Chef Evans, because this year they placed again first and third, and a Judges Award at Cooks Around the World. As a parent who's gone, I can't tell you how exciting it is. I know some students didn't get to go, but I'm super excited. And then to lead into Ms. Jessie's presentation, I know there are some slides that are supposed to be going up. Yes, so I'm gonna kick it off with saying thank you, Ms. Jessie, for allowing me to help assist you with this presentation. I am honored as not only a Woodbridge alumni and graduate, but someone who still has close ties to that community, to open with this celebration of Miss Dudley. She is a homegrown former coach from Woodbridge High School that led the Vikings. It said 131 to 75, went 131 to 75 games, and led the Vikings to a Class 6 state title in 2019. And her daughter is also attended Woodbridge and now is a member of Sidwell and Friends basketball team. So I'm going to kick the ball over to Miss Jessie. Thank you for allowing me to participate, and congratulations to Coach Dudley.
Could I have slide 1? Mrs. Dudley, would you please come forward along with your principal, Ms. Heather Abney, Mr. George Washington, and Mr. Wortham. Please come forward. Please, the slide with the name, please. Thank you. Stay there. Dr. McDade likes to recognize the accomplishments of people in the system. And you're no longer with us, but I decided to take my 3 minutes to introduce you to Dr. McDade and to make everyone aware that you are considered the nation's best high school coach. So let's give her a round of applause for that. I think the next slide I'd like to show is George Washington. When I went to Woodbridge High School, there were several people who met me, and Heather Abney took me into her office, and I met George Washington. And I had no idea of his relationship to Ms. Dudley until I started reading more and more about you. First of all, Gary Wortham took me to the football field. Believe it or not, because I came from South Carolina, I had never been to a high school football game, so I was very pleased with that. And then Mr. Washington took me on the tour of the school, and we've talked about that. But this relationship, I know, is very strong, and I know that you were her mentor, and I wanted to congratulate you and thank you, because this lady has made an accomplishment. Her accomplishments are because of you. The next slide, please, the championship. This is Sidwell Friends. We've talked about your accomplishments as a Woodbridge coach. You had 4 straight tournaments in 8 seasons from what I've read, and you can correct me. Sidwell Friends is known for President Obama's children and President's students attending. But now, Sidwell Friends is known because they are the 2022 Girls Basketball Invitational Champions, and that was under your leadership. There were 11 games undefeated. You had 11 games and no defeats, I'm told. And that your daughter, who also attended Woodbridge High School, Kendall, ranked number 4. So I wanted to congratulate you. And people know that I often give these cups. And I call them gratitude cups. And I have picked a special one for you tonight. And my husband is bringing the cup to the podium. And it has Woodbridge colors. And I want to share my gratitude to you for what you've done as a national representative, but your mentorship took place at Woodbridge High School. And with that, I will use the other minutes that you've given me to give her an opportunity to speak, and maybe if George or the rest of you like to speak, thank you. You may come to the mic. Thank you very much. And we're going to take a photograph at the end, please. So please remain.
Thank you all for having me tonight. It's such an honor to represent Prince William County schools on a national level, not only as a former coach, but also a former student at Woodbridge Senior High School. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity to represent us well and be a part of this community. And, you know, my start was here, you know, a strong foundation here in Prince William County. And so very, very grateful to be honored. And thank you so much for not only for educating me, but also my daughter as well. So thank you. And thank you, Ms. Abney, Coach Walsh, Coach Wortham, family, great teachers in the county that also gave me a great foundation. So very, very appreciative. And Ms. Jesse, thank you so much. You and your husband have been an amazing support system for me when I was at Woodbridge Senior High School and even now. So thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, George said to me, you go to the football games, but you've got to come to the basketball team, girls basketball team, because they are great. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to say anything? Mrs.
I'll just say that Coach Dudley continues to give back to Woodbridge. Our girls basketball team was quite successful this season, and as we advanced, Coach Dudley was up there in the stands, and I know that meant so much to the players. So I just want to thank her for continuing to support Woodbridge and Prince William County.
Okay, please remain, and we'll take a photo after we adjourn.
Miss Jessie, I want to thank you too. You have to stop now. Leave us. Don't. No more calls for us to come get any awards. We enjoyed it. I enjoyed her. I've had her since she was 13. You know, and it's been really a great ride. She's risen and helped us all rise there at Woodbridge High School. You know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to adjourn the meeting. Can't read this without my glasses. There being nothing further to come before the board, I now declare this meeting adjourned.
Okay, would you come downstairs? Thank you.